So I want you to imagine yourself in your grave, and the angels, they approach you. They ask you the three all-important questions to see if you pass the test of life. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? And who is your prophet? Imagine you're in that state right now. Will you be able to answer those questions? You need to live by these answers so you can answer them in your grave. But a person can't live by something that he or she does not know. So you have to learn these things. For that reason, we have a Islamic studies program, and we'd like to invite you to take a look at the program by joining our Telegram group at the link below. And if you like it, inshallah ta'ala, and you think this is something that could be suitable for you, and you may be able to learn your deen here, then you can register for the first year of our program. And hopefully, we see you on the other side. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala nabi al-Mustafa al-Mujtaba. Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to another session of Islamic inheritance law. In today's class, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we are going to be covering mawani'ul irth. Mawani'ul irth. What does that mean? Does anyone have an idea? The obstacles of inheritance. So before you inherit, do you have to go through a couple of obstacles, or you have to go around a couple of obstacles? Jameel. That which will cause you to be prevented from inheriting. That which causes one to be prevented from inheriting. Make sense? That which causes one to be prevented from inheriting. Prevented from inheriting. Type. And there are three. Number one, does anyone know? That if you were to do something, right, it would cause you now to be prevented from inheriting. Okay, Jameel. Ikhtilafuddin, they call it. Ikhtilafuddin. Okay? Having a different religion from the one that you're inheriting from. The father might be a kafir, and the daughter is a Muslim. Can they inherit from one another? Regardless of who dies before the other? La. Ikhtilafuddin. The asl, the default ruling is that a Muslim cannot inherit from a kafir, and a kafir can't inherit from a Muslim. Is that clear? Due to ikhtilaf al-din. إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. He is not from your family. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam, right? And speaking about his son. Is that clear? We'll put that down as number 2. Ikhtilafuddin. So I'm writing going up like that. A different religion. So having a different religion, right, prevents you from inheriting and prevents them from inheriting as well. It works both ways. Is that clear, brothers? Does anyone know the other? Jameel. Al-Qatl. Killing. Your father, mashallah, tabarakallah, has been blessed with wealth. You're musta'jil. Right? You want to get married, but you don't have any money. You go to dad for whatever reason. He says, no, I can't give you that much. I'll only give you what? 1/20 of the amount that you're asking me. Princess Charming is not going to wait around. Princess Charming wants you either to cough up this amount of money. Otherwise, I'm not going to marry you. He's agitated now. Needs that money. What does he do? He goes and kills his father. He kills him. Oh yes, now I can inherit. Yasruh. Is that okay now? Will he be able to inherit from him? La. Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ لِلْقَاتِلِ مِنَ الْمِيرَاثِ شَيْءٍ. The one who killed, he can't take anything from the inheritance that has been left behind. And we can maybe what? Split this into two. A and B. A, brothers and sisters, is the one who goes and does the killing himself. Okay? I take a gun and I shoot that person. Or the son takes a gun and shoots his dad. May Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us all from that. Are these real life scenarios? Without a shadow of a doubt. Or he's what? So this is what? Al-Mubashir. The one who comes in contact with the one being killed. And he's the one that causes the killing. And al-musabbib, here brothers and sisters, is the one who causes. For example, now, you don't actually go and do the murder, you pay someone to do it for you. Does that now take you out of the situation? Of course not. Right? So the fact that you paid so and so to kill your father, that would what? Disqualify you from inheriting. So what's the first one, brothers and sisters? Al-qatl. Killing. Riq. The third is al-riq. Okay? A slave that you have. Does the slave inherit? Slave doesn't inherit. Even if he gave service to you for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Right? The slave is owned by his master. Is that clear, brothers and sisters? He is owned by the master. He does not inherit. He does not inherit. However, does the master inherit from the slave if he were to free him? This is called al-wala. It's a discussion for another day. Right? إِنَّمَا الْوَلَاءُ لِمَنْ أَعْتَقَى. على كل حال, we don't have any slaves today's day and age. Unless you guys have. Does anyone have slave girls here? Huh? طيب. Is that clear so far, brothers and sisters? Pretty straightforward, right? These three things get you disqualified from inheriting. It's a preventative factor from you inheriting from your dad's wealth. Is that clear, brothers? Any questions so far?
Someone that has been adopted, does he take money from his father?
لا.
Okay.
Adoption, لا.
Killing is only to do with the father, would it be if you killed anyone?
Anyone that you're going to be inheriting from. Anyone that you're going to be inheriting from. It could be my brother that I'm inheriting from. My brother, Allah Azza wa Jalla blessed him with a lot of money. You guys with me? Right? I need that money right now. I kill him. Can I inherit from him? The answer is no. There's a qa'idah that you learn in Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyah that is related to this. Normally this example will be brought for those who have studied Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyah. Does anyone know the qa'idah? فتح الله عليك شيخ جابر. The poet, he says معاجل الأمور قبل آنه قد باء بالخسران مع حرمانه ومع حرمانه من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. Whoever is hasty in obtaining something before its actual time, he will be deprived from it. He will be deprived from it. Is that clear, brothers and sisters? قاعدة فقهية is a legal maxim or a fiqhi maxim, whatever you want to call it. Scholars also tend to mention this qa'idah when someone is hasty in putting his face out to the public giving da'wah. Jumps into the da'wah scene, hasn't studied properly. What's going to happen, brothers and sisters? He's bound to make inexcusable blunders. People will start nitpicking out his mistakes and his shortcomings, which may be the reason why people stop taking knowledge from him. Would you guys agree with that? When you see a sheikh or when you see a teacher, too many mistakes are being pointed out. Next time, Allah yahfadak shaykh. Right? In the usul of his teachings, in the foundations and the fundamentals of his teachings, you're going to at least, right, after some time, begin to feel what? A little bit uncomfortable with what he's feeding you. Would you guys agree with that? Someone points out, oh, he made a huge blunder. We're not talking about small little mistakes, right? In fiqh now, he's made a huge blunder. In hadith now, a huge blunder that just about everybody knows, right? Or in the Arabic language, huge blunder. Things that you wouldn't see people in elementary making mistakes in. These you begin to think, you know what? Even if he goes out and studies abroad and then comes back, people will still be iffy about that individual. So don't shoot yourself in the foot. Study, 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 right? Learn that what you're going to be teaching properly. No one is saying that you have to be an alim, a scholar, before you start teaching. Do you guys agree with that? As long as that which you're teaching, you're what? Grounded in it. You know it properly. When I was in Yemen, Dammaj, there would be approximately 20 to 30 classes, new classes, right? Started every single week. We were spoiled for choice. And it makes sense now why one of the shuyukh in Saudi said, 1 year in Al-Madinah is equivalent to 3 years in Dammaj. Because I went to all these places, I think it would be fair for me to judge that. Huh? Makes a lot of sense. You want to get a class in Usul al-Thalatha, right? The 3 fundamentals in places like Medina, well, you're going to struggle. Right? You're going to struggle. I think Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Qasim teaches Usul al-Thalatha once every 6 months. Wallahi. You have to look for a teacher who's going to what? Sit you down. It's going to go through books of Aqeedah, books of Hadith and this. If you want one-to-one classes consistently, starting with the basics in whatever science you're going to be studying. In Dammaj, you had the students of the mashayikh teaching these books every single week. And this is the classical way of studying. One learns it properly and then he goes and teaches it. And by you teaching it, what? Solidifies the knowledge. Even if it might be with your brother, your younger sister, you teach them what you've learnt. It solidifies that knowledge. Right? And the more you teach, the more it increases. Would you guys agree with that? When you're articulating something, right? It tends to stick with you longer. يزيد بكثرة الإنفاق منه وينقص إن به كفًا شددتها. As the poet mentions, the more, right, you spend of your knowledge, the more it increases. And it will decrease when you what? Hold back. You're stingy with it. Or you don't revise it, you don't teach it. It's going to what? Start diminishing. And eventually it will disappear altogether. Namima.
Like you're saying, oh, this person said so and so, right? It leads to.
That's a good question. We'll research that, inshallah ta'ala. Right? على كل حال here, you have the musabbib, the one who caused it, who caused this individual not to be killed by maybe paying someone to carry out this. How do you guys know when you say in English? Huh? A hitman, that's the one. You hire a hitman to get him killed. I think they do that a lot in East London, right? Huh? Al-Mubashir is the one who makes that direct contact with the one who's been killed, right? طيب. So the principle is من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. We also spoke about اختلاف الدين. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا يرث المسلم الكافر ولا يرث الكافر المسلم. Right? The Muslim won't inherit from the kafir and vice versa as well. طيب, we're in the lands of the kuffar. And that kafir guy has passed away, who's your father. He's left all that wealth behind. If you don't take from that wealth, it is going to be falling into the hands of the other kuffar. In that case, what do you do? Can you take from it in that case? Wallahi, some of the scholars, they'll give a fatwa. By the way, it's not me giving this fatwa. I believe it was Ustadh Yassin that asked Shaykh Wasila Abbas, if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm wrong, we'll cut that out from the video. Right? Shaykh Wasila Abbas, in situations like that, if a lot of the wealth now is going to fall into the hands of the kuffar, when the Muslims could actually be benefiting from that, in that case we would say, no. Everybody get that so far, brothers? Pretty straightforward, right? Today we're going to get a little bit mathematic. See, what should we go through now? I was between either going through الوارثون والوارثات من الرجال والنساء, to go through who from the men inherits and who from the women inherit, but because we've gone through a lot of theory, right? Well, maybe inshallah ta'ala cover that next week. But today I want to inshallah ta'ala cover that which is a little bit more practical, to keep it interesting. تأصيل المسألة. تأصيل المسألة أو تأصيل المسائل. Let's make it jump. In the English language, my brothers and my sisters, this is called the base number. The base number, my brothers and my sisters, is the crux. It's the crux of any inheritance problem. There is a key number, brothers, when making inheritance calculations. This key number, this key number is the number that is used when dividing the amount that has been left behind. There is that special number. We'll call it a special number through our classes. Right? There is a number. And we'll underline it with red. And with green. Pink as well. I think the lid's dropped, صح? جزاك الله خير. It's a very important special number. Is that clear, brothers? What do we call it? A base number. After making some calculations, these calculations will lead you to a base number. And then this base number is the number that is used to make a division with the amount that has been left behind. So let's just say, for example, you left behind £100,000. This base number is extremely crucial. If you get that wrong, you might end up distributing an amount that is not fair amongst your inheritors. So there are some calculations that we need to make before we arrive at that base number, which then is used to make that division. of the amount that has been left behind. Is everybody with me so far? All you need to know so far is that there's a very special number. It's a key number. Calculations you make must be accurate in order for this number to be what? Correct. Is that clear so far? What were the 6 fractions in the Quran? Huh?
Half, 2/3. 1/2.
Okay. Half. طيب. 1/8. What were the other 3? No, Jabir, what were they? طيب. Third, 6th, and 2/3. Today's class is very, very important, brothers. Can you see now why I mentioned these 6 fractions in the first lesson? We are going to call them, يعني these 3, المجموعة الأولى, the first group. We're going to call the second group, المجموعة الثانية. Look at them as brothers and look at them as sisters. I'm just trying to make the knowledge simple here. Is that clear? Look at them as one group and look at them as another. Right? Group number 1. Group number 2. Make sense so far? What do you normally call this in the English language? No, the number that is under the line. Denominator. And the top we call the numerator. Sahih? Excellent. We're going to take, inshallah ta'ala, some principles. How much does Taymiyyah get again? Half when?
No brothers or sisters.
There's no brothers, and then there's also no sisters. So let's just say now that her father, may Allah give him a long life upon ta'ah, upon obedience, passes away. Guys with me so far? How much does Taymiyyah get? How much does his wife or his wives get? Huh? 1/8. These 2 numbers now are from which group? Group number 1 or group number 2? Group number 1. Jayyid. If we have an inheritance equation that has the fractions from group 1, right? The base number is going to be what? It's always going to be a number here. Okay, forget about this for a moment. There is a number that we have to put here. How do we now calculate the base number? When we have these 2 fractions, how would you guys normally do it in maths? When you're trying to, what do they call it? Simplifying or to find a common denominator? Huh? What would you do here? All that can multiply, divide, and we're not going to go into all of that. I'm just going to give you guys what principles. The principle here, if you find an inheritance equation that has 2 fractions from the same group, what do? You look at the biggest number and you put it there. Make sense? So what did you put here? 8. How much would Taymiyyah get? What's half of 8? 4. What's an eighth of 8? 1. How much left? 3, right? Come on, brothers, it's basic. Why are you guys hesitating for? 3 left. So you have Taymiyyah. Wives. Allahu A'lam. Is there 1? Is there 2? Is there 3? And then you got 3 left, right? Normally the uncle would be the one. We'll keep using the uncle as an example. Uncle is the, what do we call him? Asif in the English language? The residuary beneficiary. Guys, remember the residuary beneficiary, right? He's the one who takes the leftovers after those who have a specific entitlement are given their share. Agree with that? Like Taymiyyah, she's been given half. The wives are given what? An eighth. Right? These are fractions that Allah mentioned in the Quran, right? Specified for specific inheritors. And then there are those who would take what? The remainder. Like the uncle is one of them. Uncle is one of them. He is a residuary beneficiary. واضح? Have you ever heard that term in school? Huh? See, you should learn English in masjid. طيب, uncle. This is uncle, wives, Taymiyyah. He would take what? The remainder. Can you see how important this is? Everybody with me so far? طيب, I'll say that again. This is the first group, and this is we put there group 2, group 1. If you have in an equation fractions that are all from the same group, which in this case is the situation, صح? You have Taymiyyah who takes half. You have the wife who would take an eighth. These 2 fractions now. Is it a combination of both groups or is it a combination of just the same group? Same group, right? Half and eighth. So one group. What did we say we do? What do we look for now? The largest number. What is the largest number when you look at half and eighth? 8. Then you do a basic calculation. You come back to Taymiyyah, who's entitled to half. She takes what? 4 out of the 8. Agreed? And then you have the wives who take an eighth. What's an eighth of 8? 1. And then the uncle is a residuary beneficiary. He will take the remainder. طيب. Let's just say Mr. Abu Taymiyyah left behind $1 million. Actually, let's not complicate things, right? £10,000. £10,000, right? You have to do a division. Which number are we going to use? 8. That's why it's so key. You divide that by 8 and then you have to make a multiplication. Where do I take the multiplications from? In order to determine how much Taymiyyah, the wives and uncle get? 4. Allahu Akbar. 4, 1, and 3. Remember we said she takes half the pie. The wives take an eighth. And then the remaining is for the uncle who takes the 3 out of 8. Okay? So you would divide 10,000 divided by 8, which is the base number, multiplied by how much each one is entitled to. Like in Taymiyyah, she takes half the pie, which is 4 out of 8, 1, and then 3. No. All together. Last week I mentioned that this co-wife is a problem for her. In the lifetime of a husband and even after he passes away. Right? Her Prince Charming, who was there for maybe 20 years and then this other lady comes along. Right? She's what? Taking days of her week. the house is empty. Right? And then she doesn't stop there. Even after he passes away, she's still there, bugging her. Sharing what could have been, only hers. So they will split an eighth amongst themselves. Make sense? Did everybody get this? Right? What I want you guys, inshallah, when you go home today is memorize these fractions. I mention these fractions in day one because they're crucial. Right? The lessons that we're having, right, they are synced in within one another. Is that clear so far, brothers? I'll do that again on the board. Always remember group 1, group 2. And it's so easy to remember. What's half of half? Quarter. What's half of quarter? An eighth. Excellent. Simple as that. Half the half and then halve it again. You get these numbers. Half of a quarter is what? Eighth. Half of a half is a quarter. Half of the quarter is an eighth. No one should forget that. Right? These are basic fractions. And then here, what's half of a third? Sixth. Then you got 2/3. You're just going to have to find another way of remembering that. Just multiply a third by 2, you get 2/3. Multiply it once, and then on the other side, you should what? Divide it, you get these numbers. Hiya. I want you to give me all 6 very quickly, in order. Give me the first group. So half of half is a third, right? Huh? Brothers, let me draw a pie for you guys. Huh? Pie. What do I need to do in order to cut it into half? Put a line down the middle, right? Oh yeah. This is now a half. What's half of a half? What's the half of the other half? 1, 2, 3, 4. The pie consists of what? 4 halves. Sahih? If we want to now halve each part, what do? Half it. How many pieces is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need to halve the other one. That's 8. How you going? What's your name? Huh? Abdul Wahid. You're the guy who's active on Twitter, right? Huh? No, but hey. With the do-rag, sahih? Yeah, hey. Tfadal. Jameel. Half the half, you get a quarter, and then you half the quarter, you get an eighth. Right? Did everybody get that? You give me the other group. Sorry? 1/3, 2/3. Jameel. 1/3, got a sixth, and then you got 2/3. Have you done fara'id before? Huh? You've never done this before. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Okay. Is that clear so far, brothers? طيب. Let's remove the pie. Uncle, he's a residuary beneficiary. He's the one who takes if there is something left. And we will keep using him as an example. Is that clear, brothers? To make things easy. Taymiyyah, is she a residuary beneficiary? The wife, is she a residuary beneficiary? No, they're not. What about the parents? The father and the mother? They're not residuary beneficiaries, huh? For the time being, we will say that they are what? Dhawul furud, which basically means that they have a specific amount that they are entitled to. They have a specific amount that they are entitled to. Excellent. Let's do that mas'ala again. You have Taymiyyah. Camera gets that, right? Tahmid. It's clear, sah? How many does Taymiyyah get? When does she get a half? With two conditions. What two conditions? No brothers and no sisters. طيب. The wife. Let's say a wife now. Yeah, Taymiyyah takes half. How much does the wife get? Does anybody know when she gets an eighth? If there's a child in the equation. Anyways, we'll come on to all of that inshallah ta'ala. The conditions of when the woman takes an eighth and when someone might take a half and the conditions and everything, which would need to be memorized like water. Huh?
You see, like, things like when the wife gets a little amount, she has a child or not. If you have like, multiple wives, one has a child, one doesn't, one has a child, they all get eighth, or is it different?
Depends if it's your child. Yeah, as long as the one who passed away left behind a child. Okay, so in this case, okay, we say هلك هالك عن. طيب, someone passed away and he left behind a daughter and a wife. Taymiyyah, by the way, should be daughter, but I just wrote Taymiyyah so makes things easier. Wife, whether she has are you referring to her having, the wife having a child from another guy? Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's one wife that he has a child with or not, right? Or the other he doesn't, as long as he has a child. The father, because the father has passed away here. We'll write it. Father passed away. Who has he left behind? One daughter, right? 3 wives. Whether it's one wife or 3 wives doesn't make a difference. As long as there is a child in the equation, it changes the dynamics of how much the wives will end up sharing amongst themselves. 8th. Whether it's 1, 3, 4, 2, all the same. 8th.
So if there's no child, the wife is half right.
No. It's a rubu'. Takes a quarter. What's the verse? وَلَهُنَّ الرُّبُعُ مِمَّا تَرَكْتُمْ إِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَكُمْ وَلَدًا. She takes a quarter if you don't have a child. فَإِن كَانَ لَكُمْ وَلَدٌ فَلَهُنَّ الثُّمُنُ مِمَّا تَرَكْتُمْ. There is a child in the equation, takes an eighth.
So the wife that you don't have a child with, she still takes an eighth because there's a child.
Because you have a child. Make sense? Anyways, don't worry about that, guys. Yeah. طيب. And then we also say there is what? An uncle. How much does the uncle get? You say the remainder because he's a residuary beneficiary. We'll put an R. Did everybody get that so far? How do we now calculate the base number? Huh?
Be 8. Be the number 8.
The number 8, why?
It's the largest number.
Because we look for the largest number due to these fractions being from the same group. Make sense? 8. Just put in a different color. Let's choose pink. Like we're living in a time, moment when I see colors. Time my dad's wife was at home and she had slippers. She said, Muhammad, can you get me the slippers? I looked at the slippers, it has rainbow colors. Well, even the creation of Allah Azza wa Jalla, you know, now feels طيب. How much would each one get? What do we do now? What's the next thing that we do, brothers? We half the 8th. What do we get? 4. طيب. Then we yeah. And then how much left? 3. Make sense? How much did he leave behind? 10,000 pounds. Okay, £10,000. What do? We need to look for the base number. What is the base number? The number in pink. What do we do, brothers? Divided by 8. How much is that? Huh? 1,250. Allahu Akbar. What do we do then next? What can we call this in English? In Arabic they call it siham. Each one saham. Shares. Okay? Taymiyyah has 4 shares from the 8. The wife has 1 share from the 8. And then the uncle takes the remaining. Make sense, brothers? Sisters? Then you what? Multiply by 4. How much do you get? 1,250 times 4? £5,000. Then the next one, which is what? 1. How much is that? 1,250. And then multiply that by 3 to give the uncle his shares. 3,750. Does that equal to 10,000? Did we have any decimals, brothers and sisters? In fara'id, they hate decimals. They hate decimals. They don't like decimals. Right? So they will always find a way of calculating that excludes decimals altogether. Is that clear, brothers and sisters, so far? Yeah? طيب. Fara'id is fun, right? Huh? Came in a little bit late, right? You? Huh? We mentioned that the base number is a very special number. Very special. Because if you get this wrong, can you see how the calculations will go astray or go left? That's very, very important. Huh? What we mentioned is that there's 2 groups of fractions. Okay? Don't worry, I'll let you off this time for coming late. But anyone who comes in late and then starts asking questions that we already covered, I'm going to air you. Huh? But we'll let our brother off this time. We said that there's 2 groups, what? Of numbers, of fractions. Where do we get these fractions from? Huh? Quran. Remember last week we talked about that there are 6 fractions in the Quran. These are the ones. We put them into 2 groups. You can't just choose, by the way, which group you want to put them in. This is group number 1, group number 2. If the fractions are from the same group, what do? We choose the biggest number. For example, here, it happened to be that Taymiyyah, right, is the one in the equation. Her father passed away. How much is she entitled to? Half. Also the wife, 1/8. Okay, now you look at half and 1/8. Which group are they in? First group. If you have 2 fractions from the same group, or even 3 fractions, or even 5 fractions, but they are all from the same group, what do, brothers? Sisters? The base number will be the biggest number, which is the case here. We looked at 2 and 8. Which one's bigger, 2 or 8? Common sense, right? 8. That's how we ended up deriving the base number. Make sense? I'm going to come on to that. Yeah? That's what I'm going to do now. These 2 numbers. Group 1 or group 2? Group 2. What was the qaida? What was the principle? Okay, what's the biggest number? 6. What's the third of 6? 2. What's the 6th of 6? 1. How much left? Let's just say the uncle's alive as well. Our special uncle who takes the remainder. How much does he get, the uncle? Make sense now? spice it up a little bit. What do we have here? Excellent. Next principle going to be taken that needs to be memorized is if a half is now found in the same inheritance equation as one of the fractions in the second group, then the base number is going to be Jabir. 12? It is 6. Is that clear? Take this as a principle. If the half is now found with any of the 3 fractions in the second group, then the base number straight away is 6.
Is it always 6 or is it 6 because there's the Greek number there?
Wallahi, it doesn't necessarily matter.
So it's always 6, regardless.
Yes, it's going to be 6. Just look at it this way. If a half is a principle you're going to have to memorize now. There's different ways of deriving the base number. There might be a mathematical way. Right? Is anyone here good at maths? I remember I got an A. GCSEs. Now I've completely forgotten everything. I have to use a calculator. I remember, subhanAllah, went into college, January exams. I did 4 subjects: maths, physics, law, and accounting. You know what I got? D, E. Was there U? There wasn't, right? Was there U? I think I got a U as well. And the other one was F. Huh? He said it looks like da'if. Huh? And subhanAllah, you know, for a very long time it didn't add up to me. How did I get something like, I think it was 11 A stars to C's in my GCSEs. I think there was like 4 A stars, 1 A, and the rest were whatever. And then my January exams, I got this. Later on, it made a lot of sense to me. Because I was telling myself, after January exams, I'm going to leave to Yemen. Maybe if I got good grades, Shaitan would have played around with me. Oh, stay, just finish that year. Sometimes that which may seem as a negative happens to you, and you don't understand why it's happening. Or a mishap befalls you. You don't actually see the hikmah behind it. Only years down the line you say, oh, subhanAllah. If that didn't happen, I would have probably not had this today. Can you guys relate to that? How often have we been what? Deprived of something. And it didn't make sense to us at the time because our intellects are what? Limited. Earlier, when we was having a munch, me, my good friend Nabil and Taha, this discussion came up about, you know, these atheists, right? And the brain and the intellect and whatever have you. Can you see what's happening now in Southall with the naked eye? Can anybody here see what's happening in Southall? Maybe there is someone, I don't know. Can you guys see what's happening in Southall? Which is what? 15 minutes away? No, you can't, sah. Our eyes are limited. Can anybody hear that which is happening in Leicester? Or even in Southall, forget about Leicester, 2 hours away. Yeah, 15 minutes. Or even that which is happening now, in Hounslow near the bus station. No. It's limited, right? That which you can see and hear. If we can say that about the eyes and also the ears, can we not say that about somebody's intellect? Some think that they can prove everything through what? The intellect. And Taha try to say to me, but they'll just basically turn around and say, look at how much they're discovering. I was like, that's a proof against them. The fact that they're discovering, it clearly shows that they didn't know. Only then they're discovering. And as time goes on, there will be more things that are discovered. Mr. Einstein, who passed away when? Does anybody have an idea? In the 60s. Allahu A'lam. Or whenever he passed away. That which he discovered was what? Some things that he discovered about this universe, right? And there were so many other things that he didn't discover in his lifetime, which is what a hujjah against him, a proof against him. Would you guys agree with that? Without a shadow of a doubt. And even now they're still discovering things, and they're going to be discovering things. Later on there will be someone who has bigger intellect than the other that will discover things. Anyways, that was a tangent. ضعيف ها؟ What's that ضعيف? طيب. How much would the half get? The person who's entitled to half, 3. What about here? The third? 2. Here? 1. That's 6. Make sense? What was the principle? If you find the half of the second group, then the base number is going to be out of 6. Good. Now you have what? A quota. With which group? Group 2. The base number is going to be out of?
Yeah, 12.
12? Why did you say that?
All of the denominators go into 12.
So you basically try to work it out as the common denominator, which is another way of doing it. But I don't want to confuse you guys. And it's consistent, you'll see. But على كل حال, I'm going to just give you guys these 4 principles. Which one are we on? Number 2, right? Principle number 2. If a quarter finds its way in, if a quarter is found in an equation with any of the second group, we say that the base number is straight away 12. Special number is 12. Is that clear, brothers? Make sense? 12 divided by? The first denominator is 3. 12 divided by 3? 4. 12 divided by 6? 2. How many left? 3. Let's just say there's uncle here, takes 3. Normally the uncle would already be in the equation. Yeah? And an uncle. So the uncle would take how much? 2 plus 4 is 6. Plus 3. Make sense? Do we have any decimals? The fact that you're not getting decimals shows that you're doing it right. Is that clear so far? And then you take 12, you divide that by what? 10,000. How much do we get? 10,000 divided by 12? Yeah, but we're not finished with the equation. 0.333333, صح? Good. هيا 833.333333 multiply that by each one's shares. You multiply that by 3, how much you get? 2,500. Exactly, huh? طيب. Then you multiply that by 4. 833.33333 divided by, or times by 4. You get 3,333.3333 and 3. طيب. Then you multiply that by 2. 833.3333 times 0.666666. صحيح? When you add all of them up, you're going to get a whole number, which is what? 10,000. Huh? No, I mean like the sum at the end, there won't be any decimals. Right? And here, there won't be any decimals. Is that clear? But we're not even done with the actual sum itself or the calculation. You may get decimals, but when you do the calculation properly, you'll come up with the whole number. No. You don't round up now here because you might end up getting what? 10,000, 0.01 and this and that. But if you do it properly, you're not going to get any decimals. Is that clear? And here, of course, there would be a person, like someone who's entitled, like the wife. Got hung. Then you also have 6. You have, and then you have the uncle who would take R. So you have a third, eighth, sixth, and then you have R. The base number is out of what?
24.
Why is it 24?
Common to them. The lowest number to get to 24. 24, sorry.
But isn't 8 times 6?
No, 8, 6, and 24. 6 to 18, 24.
Hey? Anyways, the principle is, if an eighth now comes with the second group, the base number is going to be out of 24. Write that down. If an eighth finds himself in an equation that has any of the second group, we say that the base number, we say that the base number is out of 24. طيب 24 divided by 3 is 8. Did we get any decimals? So what? 8, right? 24 divided by 8, 3. 24 divided by 6. How much left? How much does the uncle get? 9. It's 24 altogether, صح? And by the way, like I said, just like you have a human being here, uncle, there'll be a human being there, human being there, human being there. Okay? I'm just giving you guys these numbers together, so it allows us to go through it accordingly. No. So 10,000 will have to be divided by which number? 4, صح? 24, the key number. Can you see that there has to be a number of calculations that is made before we get 24? And then that 24 is the special key number that is used to divide the amount that's been left behind. That's why it's very key. Very, very key. So now to summarize, my beloved brothers and sisters, what was the first principle that we took today? So we have what? 2 groups. المجموعة الأولى والمجموعة الثانية. First group and the second group. Who's part of the first group?
4 to 6.
So no cheating happens. What's the first group? Half. Brothers, say in order. No one's ever start with an eighth. Right? You have an half, and then a quarter, and then an eighth. Sahih? طيب. What's the second group? طيب. If we have a half and an eighth, what do we do? I just mentioned two fractions from the same group. So if you have two fractions from the same group, what do? You look for the biggest number. Is that clear? So you have half and eighth. What's going to be the base number? Eighth. Excellent. We have a sixth and 2/3. These are two fractions from different groups, right? From the same group. You guys with me? Sixth and also 2/3. Base number is from sixth. That's the first principle that we took today. If we have two fractions, you with me? Did you get it now? Allahu Akbar. You have two fractions from the same group. The base number is going to be out of biggest number. Excellent. That's the first principle. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, the fact that you guys are understanding and you're so slick, Allahumma barik, and quick in answering, that's very, very amazing. A lot of brothers at the university, they really struggle, especially with fara'id. I was one of them. I tried to run away from fara'id. If I could just cancel it altogether and never study it, I would have done that. Maybe the teacher had a role to play as to why we didn't feel comfortable with fara'id. And the COVID as well. COVID-19, because you study fara'id 4 times, right? Throughout your stay in Al-Medina. They call it fara'id inheritance 1, 2, 3 and 4. First time we had fara'id, it was when the news broke out that we would have to leave. So we were halfway through a semester. And we were just taking a lot of these theory related issues. Like, the beginning today we took some theory, sah? And the last couple of lessons. Ala kulli hal, wallahi, I remember I did not understand anything and I still got 100. The Shaykh just said, whoever answers these 3 questions, I'm going to give him what? 100. This is meant to be a semester, right? A whole semester. But because of all the chaos and, Corona, everyone has to go back. I said, you know what? Everyone's unsettled. I'll ask you guys these 3 questions. Write it down on a paper. Send it to me and I'll give you guys 100. Wallahi, I was like, brothers, what's going on here? Like, these questions. And he even said that you guys could research it, revise together. We revised together. Put it down. Send the questions, 100. And I'm not understanding anything. I don't know what is going on. Second semester, it was online. Do you think, brothers and sisters, right, if I just sat here in a chair and explained it, you guys would have understood it? You need a board, sah? So we're studying inheritance number 2, right, over the internet. I'm awake, 5 in the morning? Inheritance without a board. I just deleted it. Wallahi, I deleted it. I was like, Sheikh, you're going to have mercy on me. My brother just passed away. It's 5 in the morning, right? Allah yarhamuh. This normally requires a board and you're just teaching. Can you just have some mercy on me, please? Didn't even respond to me. I deleted it. The next teacher that I had after that, he ended up teaching what? Through PowerPoints. Which really helped me. Allah reward him. But because I deleted it in my last semester at the university, I had both 3 and 4, which is a lot. But ala kulli hal, point is, brothers and sisters, many brothers struggled. Many brothers. Right? People get scared. You got the one who's mashallah very good at fiqh, but when it comes to fara'id, legs start shaking. The fact that you guys are understanding it, Allahumma barik. You're commended for it. May Allah Azza wa Jalla increase you all in knowledge. Right? I take out a lot of time before a class to think about how I'm going to articulate it. I think about how I struggled, maybe what I could change. A lot of thought goes into it. And alhamdulillah, you guys are understanding it. Honestly, brothers, put your hand up if you didn't understand what we took today. Be honest. You can criticize me. I know it might be rude to criticize teacher, but I'm opening the floor. Whoever wants to. I didn't understand what we mentioned. It was pretty straightforward, sah? Type. What was the third principle that we took? Have you revised the second one?
No.
Huh? The second principle is that if a half, remember we're just talking about the first group here. You have half, quarter and eighth. If you find half now with the second group, the base number is going to be out of 6. Allahu Akbar. Excellent. Or excellence. Let's now move on to the next one, quarter. That's why I said nobody start with 8. You have half, quarter, and then eighth. A quarter now is in the same equation as one of the 3 fractions of the second group. Base number is out of 12. Now you have eighth that comes in the same equation as any of the fractions in the second group. That will be out of 24. Right? You can see with the way we calculate everything, this is exactly how you calculate an actual equation. From next week, I'm going to be throwing like real life equations at you guys. Right? MashaAllah, tabarakallah.